I'm done with the Alien franchise. Seriously. I can't do this anymore. Ridley Scott has lost his mind and continues to shit out these boring Alien prequel films. I got a lot of flack for a video I made where I criticized Ridley Scott. I will say that I didn't word it the best. It was poorly worded, some of the points I wanted to make, and people did make good points to some of the things I said in that video regarding aliens and Ridley Scott and the overall I don't know, the overall turning point in the series where things became when it became a franchise really and not just one film. However, I was basically saying, despite my love for Alien and Blade Runner, I feel Ridley Scott didn't make another good film until Thelma Louise. In my eyes, every film he has made in the last decade ranges from mediocre to bad. A Good Year, Exodus, Robin Hood, and Prometheus fall into the bad category. His other films like American Gangster are simply just mediocre. Kingdom of Heaven's probably the best thing he's made in the last 10, 20 years, but even its full director's cut is still a highly flawed film. Now here comes the controversial statement. I don't like Gladiator or Black Hawk Down. Sure, they have good cinematography and good scores and so on, but to me they're complete messes and have left me cold throughout the years of watching them. I think they're just messes, really. I think they're poor films from a storytelling, character development standpoint, and they have good scenes. Gladiator certainly has some good scenes, but yeah, they even said Ridley Scott the first day they were filming they didn't even have a script, and I'm like, you can tell, Ridley, you can tell you were filming without a script. Yet me not enjoying these films doesn't mean anything, right? It's just an opinion. I get that. It's just my opinion that I think most of Ridley Scott's work is mediocre to bad, and he's only made a couple really good movies. Great movies. Masterpieces. The difference for me here is that for some reason, like a beaten housewife, I always come back to the Alien franchise despite it shoving its fist up my ass. The first movie's a masterwork. Scott's vision and the collaboration between him and Giger was groundbreaking. It's like Jaws. The limitations only made the film stronger, and the less we saw of the monster, the scarier it all was. Now, from the comments on my Aliens video, it seems like a lot of people don't like Aliens due to it being a generic action film that destroys the mystery of the first film. It also got a lot of flack for being a ripoff of the Starship Troopers novel, and people do not like the Space Marine aspect and the weaker xenomorphs getting taken out by the guns, even though I'd argue it's just better equipment that they were using that killed the xenomorphs, not that the xenomorphs were weaker. My video, though, was about why I love Aliens, as I think its themes on motherhood and Cameron's warlike approach to the material still holds up. The video wasn't to say that Aliens is better, just that I enjoy both films. I like that Aliens tried something different and went into a different genre, as I think trying to repeat what Alien did would have just led to something worse. I think it would have just been a really bad remake of Alien, which is what I think Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and recently, to get into it, Alien Covenant, which is what this video is mainly going to be centered around, and why I really don't the Alien franchise. Alien 3 and Resurrection are films I like less with time. I see they have lots of apologists, and I can understand that. Both films had visionary directors and interesting concepts, but to me they lack focus, logic, and take the franchise backwards. But however you feel about Aliens, I think we all got excited from Prometheus. Ridley Scott coming back to sci-fi just made sense. Doing a prequel made sense, and the casting was great. Charlize Theron, Idris Elba, Michael Fassbender. Sadly, Damon Lindelof was writing. Not that I don't enjoy Lost or his current show The Leftovers, but I think his film work so far has been pretty bad. Cowboys and Aliens, Tomorrowland. He seems to pack too many ideas into his script, something that would work better on a TV show where it could get fleshed out. The original Alien was simple. The complexity came from the set designs, photography, and themes that were underneath the surface. It was what Alien was saying underneath when it wasn't just being overtly spoken to you through dialogue like in Prometheus that gave it such power. The themes of rape and the overall sexuality hidden within the film do more than dialogue ever could. Alien and Aliens are an experience. The directors put the craft first, and the result is something that feels close to a haunted house on drugs. My problem with Prometheus was that it's a lot of talking about cool shit, but we never get to see the cool shit. The ideas that are raised are interesting, but when it starts to go somewhere, we get snake baby, cheesy dialogue, and more questions than we needed. I'm not sure I wanted to know where the space jockey came from. Not knowing was part of the charm. Even the xenomorph, do I really need to know the fucking origins of it? Sure, it could be interesting, but it's not like this was a dream movie I thought about for years in my head. Every new Alien film, I got sold on the designs and concepts, but then I walk into the theater and halfway into the movie I started to think about ways to kill myself. God, Ridley Scott's fucking old. Sure, his visuals are great, and that never changed, right? Scott's like a Tim Burton or a Joel Schumacher, if you will, right? He can make anything look gorgeous, and you know his style, and it's distinct. In fact, he's better than those guys. He's like a Stanley Kubrick when it comes to visuals. But the comparison with those guys is that they don't seem to be very good at picking scripts. For every Ed Wood, we get a Planet of the Apes. For every Martian we get from Ridley Scott, we get 1492, G.I. Jane. Oh, God, G.I. Jane's fucking awful. Oh, 1492 is one of the worst films you'll ever see. Scott was a commercial director, and I'm not sure if it left his bones. His recent work has felt driven by spectacle. Like, to me, it's felt more Michael Bay than Ridley Scott. Alien and Blade Runner are slow and quiet films. The pacing is part of the charm, and scripts are well structured, and the actors in both movies do iconic work. They feel like three-dimensional characters. It's very subtle work. It's perfect acting, perfect direction, and really well-structured script. Blade Runner and Alien have very well put together scripts. The actors in Blade Runner did improvisation like Rutger Hauer did for the Tears in the Rain speech. It was just a lot of those elements coming together that made those films great. Ridley Scott put all those pieces together, but, you know, he's not shown throughout his career that he can consistently make a good to great film. In my eyes, I think he doesn't know good scripts. I think he has no idea what he's doing as a storyteller. I don't even think he knew what he was doing when he was making Blade Runner. I think the screenwriters and the actors helped with a lot of that and fleshed out. It took years for us to finally get. And everyone in the studio fucked with Ridley Scott too, but that's because he fucking caved. I mean, I hate to be this way, but like Ridley Scott has never been a director with the singular vision or had visions in his films. His films that are great, like Thelma and Louise and stuff, are great because they have a really good story and characters for the most part, like Blade Runner. It's never necessarily because Ridley Scott came in and it came off like, well, he knew what he was doing exactly. It seemed like he came in, he shot the movies like crazy, like really well, but I never get that extra layer of depth. It always feels like he storyboards his stuff, comes in, shoots it, makes sure it looks pretty, and then he moves on. And when you hear him talking about this, he changed his fucking mind on even this movie from Prometheus to this. Oh, by the way, spoilers are coming. This isn't a shit on Ridley Scott video, though. I can't blame him for trying to bring the franchise back. It's also impressive for his age how much he works. And Prometheus was a beautiful film. When it ended, though, I didn't want a sequel, and with a long break, I thought it was done. But then we got Alien Covenant. Because the last film was just called Prometheus, but now they have to put Alien in front of it because of money, I guess. Even though one could argue with the lower opening weekend, I'd say the marketing team failed to reach audiences outside of the loyal Alien fan base, where Prometheus brought in new people back to the franchise. It brought people back to the franchise, where this film's opening and its second week in box office, which was a 70% drop, just seems to me that Alien fans are going and not much else. See, Prometheus built new hype for the franchise. Covenant was the late sequel that is kind of a reboot. It plays as a remake of the first two films, a sequel to Prometheus, and a new film in the franchise altogether. Doing a lot of things at once can be awesome. David Lynch is showing that right now in Twin Peaks. He's mixing a lot of different shit together in the current run of Twin Peaks, and it's phenomenal. It's the most David Lynch thing he's made in a long time. However, with this movie, I think saying less would be more is an understatement, really. I thought maybe screenwriter John Logan would give Ridley something stronger than Prometheus, but outside of some scenes between David and the new android Walter, this film drops all of its interesting aspects early on and becomes another mess. It's not the same kind of a mess Prometheus was. That film was extremely ambitious in scope and tried to do something new with the franchise, and it just failed, but I give it credit for reaching for the stars and being a grand-scale, beautiful film. I mean, it was one of Ridley's more emotional films, to be honest with you, and one of his more ambitious films. And from a technical standpoint, I'd say it was his best executed film in years, Prometheus. Prometheus was a great-looking film. But see, Alien Covenant's just a rehash of past things we've seen before. Scott would be accused of parody if this wasn't him making this movie. The characters are generic ripoffs of previous characters, and that would be fine if they didn't feel like slasher villain fodder. Like, this reminded me of Friday the 13th, and I mean, like, the most generic Friday the 13th. They introduce a dozen characters, basically, like these couples, and they just kill them off. James Franco gets killed off immediately. And they had this scene on YouTube with the characters getting to know each other, talking and stuff, that they cut out of the movie for reasons I don't know. I don't know why it's not in the movie, because it would really help the movie to have that scene. I don't know why they want you to go on YouTube and watch a scene with character development. But basically, they kill off characters so fast. Like, once they get to this planet, Paradise, the pacing of this movie picks up so fast, they start killing off characters, you don't care. It's so generic slasher. I mean, I couldn't believe Ridley Scott made this. This is the guy who made Alien, which was the opposite, where every death had huge impact in the movie. And, listen, I like Michael Assclencher. He tries to save it, but it's just not enough. The stuff with David feels like it should be in its own movie, right? Like, Scott should have made this original android sci-fi film. Why even make this Alien? The engineer Shaw and all that shit from Prometheus is put on the back burner for a new group of characters that we hardly get to know. It's not only a mistake from a storytelling point of view, it just makes Prometheus feel like more of a pointless film. If I knew it would lead to a shitty Alien remake, I'd never given it a chance to begin with. I was hoping for that sequel movie, Paradise or something, that answered the questions from Prometheus and went to the plan of the engineers and gave us all this backstory and lore and stuff. Instead, Ridley Scott makes this, like, shitty slasher flick. It really is. Like, people keep saying, too, online, well, this film's still gorgeous and beautiful. I'm like, I actually disagree. I actually greatly disagree. I'm going to be one of the people that doesn't give that compliment that this movie's gorgeous. I think some of the CGI looks like shit. You could tell the movie was shot with a lower budget than Prometheus. I think the lighting was way too dark in certain scenes. When they meet up with David, the lighting is way... Like I said, it looks like a slasher flick. Like, it was reminding me of a straight-to-DVD slasher flick. It's not that these scenes aren't technically well shot, like David playing the flute with Walter and the camera going around. That stuff looks good. But really, for Ridley Scott, I'm not that impressed. If another director made this, we wouldn't be praising them. I feel like people are just giving Ridley Scott a pass. It's like... What? He made a very generic-looking sci-fi film here. Even the cool space visuals early on, it's like, oh, gravity, okay. And throughout the whole film, it really doesn't look that much better than anything we've seen recently. It's not what you expect. Like, Prometheus looked amazing. That looked like 2001 or something. It was like, holy shit, dude, how'd you do this? This movie, no. I'm like, dude, this, like, Neil Blomkamp would have made a better looking movie. And I mean that. This really did not impress me visually. Everyone keeps saying, I'm like, what was so impressive about the visuals? It had some cool editing sequences, and there was some good... I will say the action scenes actually are pretty legit. There's one action scene near the end of the movie that's pretty badass. But for the most part, yeah, the actual technical aspects are not that impressive, considering it's an experienced veteran director that we should expect this from. I mean, I'm sorry that I'm not blown away that he made a decent-looking movie. He made an okay-looking film. It's not one of the best-looking films of the year. I totally disagree. I don't think it's a great-looking film, and I think honestly, a lot of the post-production work hurts it. I actually think it has some bad post-production work, where Prometheus had terrific post. Here's the issue. You can tell the story... Wait, no, here we go. Okay, wait. Here's the thing. Now he wants to make 2 more movies, and eventually it'll connect to the original Alien. Now here's the issue, though. You could tell that story in maybe 1, 2 movies. There is no reason to keep introducing new characters to kill off. We aren't getting to know anybody outside of David, who's an asshole and crazy as shit. Sure, Michael Bartender is great when the material is good. Even Walter can be fun with that, like, redneck bro voice he has, like, yo, my name's Walter, which made me laugh my ass off in the theater several times. The part of me wonders if I would have liked the movie better with just him and maybe 2 other new characters. I don't know why there were so many new characters. But anyway, spoiler territory. David creates the xenomorph. Ridley Scott changed his mind on this between movies, which to me just shows he had no idea what the fuck the series was when it started. And confuses me even more why he's making these films. Why not let other directors step in like he did with Blade Runner 2049 with Denis Villeneuve? I feel like despite his great visual skills, Ridley seems painfully bored here, and the movie is a series of random scenes instead of a truly cohesive experience. It's better than Prometheus in a lot of ways, but once you get to the 3rd act, and it really feels like a remake... This movie is basically dead. Sure, the ending with David taking over the ship is kind of cool, I guess, in the way that, like, the original Alien had Ripley get her head ripped off and stuff in the script, and that was all cool, but they didn't do that. But that just isn't enough. The original Alien film felt so much bigger when the space jockey just seemed like some biomechanical alien that crashed on LV-426. I watched a video recently by a guy in here that made a great point on the original film, and what made the original Alien so adult within the sci-fi genre was how alien the designs were of the creatures. They don't feel connected to humanity in the way Star Trek aliens or Star Wars aliens do sometimes. It felt foreign and scary. Just seeing the space jockey and thinking about what happened is more scary than anything Ridley Scott could have shown us. He never could have matched that. There was a grandeur Aliens seemed huge because we only saw a small piece of the universe. We just had to imagine how many xenomorphs there are and how many planets they have possibly taken over. Knowing they can just rape any planet they land on was scary. Knowing that Michael Transgender created them is just not as interesting. That makes everything in the universe smaller, in the same way the engineers made the universe feel smaller. Nothing has been as fleshed out as those original designs in that first screenplay in Alien. All of that stuff that Geiger, Scott, and Brian did in that original film works because less is always more. One Xeno the whole movie, not a protomorph and neomorph and all that bullshit, not some weird baby alien creature at the end of Prometheus. What the hell happened to that thing? Are we going back to that thing? Alien Covenant is all more. Any nuance and mystery is replaced with cheap generic thriller aspects. Like a lot of classic films, the more they try to milk it, the less special it feels. Imagine if Alien had the original ending with the Xeno ripping off Ripley's head. Maybe that would have been better, though. Then we would never get the sequels, and we just have this dark, beautiful masterpiece. I love Aliens, but it was never needed to be made. There wasn't really anywhere to go after Alien. It works because of how self-contained it is as its own movie. Just a beautiful little sci-fi horror action film, in my opinion, that only hints at bigger things. With bigger budgets and more special effects, directors could show us more and decided to go for more spectacle. I like the Queen Alien and Ripley's character development in Aliens, but I can get the issue people have with the Xenos coming off less interesting. Still, what I like about Aliens is that we get to see how fast the Xenos could spread and take over, that if they got anywhere close to Earth, we'd be fucked. Sure, maybe you didn't want to see the Xenos get blown away by gunfire and bullets and all that shit, but it didn't really try to explain the origins of the xenomorph, as it came off to me that there could be several Queen aliens, or there could be several xenomorphs throughout the universe. This was just something that shouldn't have ever come in contact with human beings, but it did. And that's what made it so scary, is that we found something we should have never found. But with this series that Ridley Scott's doing, with these last two Alien films, Scott's basically trying to show us the beyond. And it's just the It's just the Muppet Babies version of Alien. It makes everything feel so smaller. It's like, well, if David created the xenomorph, that connects everything to humanity and makes the whole universe feel smaller. It doesn't make the vastness of space that the original Alien was so masterful at have that element. It's like they just find this random alien, it's on their ship, and they're fucked. And it's scary because of the situation. Seeing the xenomorph rip out and go on the ship, the situation's scary. It doesn't... Ridley Scott tries all these emotional things here and all these literary references that are pretentious as fuck. This is like a college freshman try-hard shit. And the thing is, that stuff's not in the first Alien at all. The first Alien's intelligent. Like, when they want to come on the ship and Ripley's like, no, I'm not letting you bring him on the ship. That's not a good idea. That's a smart scene, right? In this movie, they go out on the planet without helmets on. All the characters. They just go out to the planet without helmets on for no reason. 2 people within minutes of doing this get infected and be turned into aliens. They bring them back on the ship. They bring back one of the guys on the ship. The girl locks the other girl in the room with this girl for reasons I don't know, because she says, I don't want to spread this, even though she put it all through the ship already. She runs back. She tries to get the captain there. The other girl slips on blood. Then the xenomorph thing comes out and kills her, or starts attacking her. The other girl comes in with a gun to shoot it, slips on blood. This was within like 30 seconds of each other. They both slip on blood. And then the thing breaks out. I mean, this is the kind of movie it becomes. For the first 20 minutes, half hour, this stuff with Billy Crudup and about being this kind of religious guy who doesn't feel confident being the captain of the ship. And it's actually kind of interesting. It's actually a really interesting movie about this guy who's put in a situation he doesn't really know what to do, and it keeps evolving around him. Sadly, once they get to the planet and they meet David and all the shit starts happening, this movie it gets so stupid. It's dumber than anything. I mean, that scene I just explained to you is so stupid, right? Scientists go out without helmets, which we already complained about Prometheus. They double down on it here. Immediately, they get infected because they're not wearing helmets and stuff, which then this is Ridley Scott showing you, almost trolling you. Like, hey, look, this is what happens when you're a moron. Then they bring him on the ship, and then the girl blows the fucking ship up. One girl basically blows the whole ship up. I mean, it's insane. It's so poorly written. I mean, if the original Alien film had been that shitty and structured and set up, it would have never become a classic if the characters' interactions had been that stupid. If Ripley had acted that dumb in the original film. Even Billy Crudup's captain character starts to get smart at one point. He realizes David's a psycho, and he puts a gun on him. He's like, I'm gonna fucking blow your shit away, okay? You're acting nuts. And then he walks up to an egg when David's like, trust me, it's safe, and looks into it and lets a facehugger attack him like a moron for no reason, just because the movie requires it to happen. I mean, this is one of Ridley Scott's worst movies. This isn't just a bad Alien film or a bad film. This is one of Ridley Scott's absolute... I mean, this is his Phantom Menace or something. I mean, this is him and George Lucas territory, because scenes like that are so bad. They're insulting. They're so stupid. You're sitting there rolling your eyes going, what the fuck is this? Why are characters this dumb? When they're acting smart, and just like a minute earlier, the captain character's acting smart with David, then he acts stupid. There's no consistency. David created the goddamn xenomorph. That's like finding out Sunny D was inside the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, which explains the golden glow of light, that it was Sunny D. I wouldn't mind if I thought Ridley always wanted to do this, like from the beginning, but he said in an interview he changed his mind. Like, dude, either make that Prometheus sequel or do something original. I'm not sure if it's Scott, the studio, or just bad luck. Something is off with these new films, like Scott and crew are trolling me or something, for some strange form of entertainment. Sure, the Alien franchise has died several times, but the foolish side of me hoped we were going to get something that fixed a lot of the issues with Prometheus. Instead, it's almost like J.J. Abrams stepped in and we got a mixtape Alien film like Force Awakens. I'm done. And I'm not paying to see any more Alien sequels, prequels, whatever the fuck these are. If you like these new films, more power to you. I can't walk down this road anymore, though. And I'm not going to shit on people who enjoyed Prometheus and Alien Covenant. I will say the franchise does seem to have some shitty fanboys, though. So I'm hoping the discussion in the comments section can be more fun and enlightening. Because on my last Aliens video, a lot of the Alien fanboys were just fucking assholes. And it's funny because a lot of the people who suck Ridley Scott's dick and love Prometheus and Alien, a lot of the problems you have with Aliens he made in this movie. Stupid character decisions, cliches, bad cheesy dialogue, action over horror elements, the xenomorphs of the aliens getting killed way too easily by gunfire and stuff. He does pretty much, I mean, he rips off James Cameron in this movie as much as he rips off himself. I mean, so much of this movie's a rip-off of the elements in Aliens. It's ridiculous. And that stuff, what's funny is that's the stuff that actually works the best is the action elements. I actually think this completely fails from a horror element and a sci-fi element, but it's like, Ridley Scott's pretty good at staging action scenes. These are pretty fucking good action scenes. There's this one with the ship like flipping and this chick shooting one of the aliens, and it's awesome. I actually really like that scene a lot. And I was like, well, shit, if the movie was more like this, I probably could have got into it a little bit more. Instead, it's like Michael Fassbender with these weird accents doing these crazy, hilarious monologues and stuff like that, and clearly acting like a psycho and nobody's aware of it. It's like, this guy's clearly untrustworthy. Just kill him and move on. You should have just killed the guy in the first 5 seconds. And him and Walter are talking about depth and sci-fi, and it's like Blade Runner. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not. Westworld's better than this shit. Like, God, could you at least brought in some screenwriters, Ridley, from something else? Maybe a Vince Gilligan or something. Could you brought someone in to punch up the dialogue and something to give us more? Ridley Scott just isn't for me. Despite making 2 of my favorite films of all time, 3 of my favorite films of all time, really. Thelma and Louise is great, too. Covenant is the final nail in the coffin. This is the point beyond redemption. Now, here's the thing, okay? Michael Airbender is getting a lot of praise for this movie, and I understand it because he's trying. But even the ending with David being evil and taking over the ship and everything, it's so obvious that David's Walter in the 3rd act. It's obvious. You're sitting there the whole time. They even have, like, the thing pop up over his head like, I couldn't believe it. Like, he telegraphs it for you. It would have been a better twist had David not been Walter at the end, because I didn't see that coming. This is what I don't get about this. Ridley Scott has no subtlety in this movie. He clearly lets you know what David's up to as soon as they get on the planet. He clearly lets you know what's going to happen at the end. You know what's going to happen once they meet David. The rest of the movie's telegraphed. I don't get why they did that. Even Prometheus, you didn't know what was going to happen in Prometheus. You're sitting there going like, well, is Charlize Theron's character, is she an android? What's Waylon doing on the ship? There was at least mystery. I mean, a lot of it didn't make sense, but at least it was like, oh, what's going on here? This movie, you know what's going on. There's not mystery here. And also, the way it's structured is kind of poor. They have a flashback sequence showing David destroy the planet and all that, and the way it's put together and stuff. And I just think that would have been better as an opening sequence to the movie, instead of showing it to us later, because there's no build-up and payoff with David's character in that way. If we saw that scene at the beginning, then we'd be waiting for David the rest of the movie to see anything. But really, he just kind of shows up. And then the movie gets really small as the characters just hang out with David in his little bat cave for a while. I don't know what Ridley Scott was thinking here. I mean, it turns into a generic slasher flick. It feels like multiple movies in one. It feels like it feels like Alien, Aliens, Alien Resurrection, and Alien 3. It has all elements from those movies. It's too many movies at once. This movie would have been so much better off if they would have just picked one idea. Pick one idea. New crew goes to a planet, a sequel to Prometheus. I mean, they even kill Shaw off and stuff like Alien 3. They're like, hey, let's just kill off the lead from the last movie. Fuck her. You could have carried her over to this movie so at least we had a character we liked that got developed. Instead, when you introduce these new characters, I don't care about them. I don't care about them. It's like, and you killed them all off. That's the craziest part. It's like, well, then how am I supposed to go into the next movie? The movie moves way too fast, too. The pacing is awful. This movie has some of the worst pacing I've seen recently. Like, once those deaths starts happening and the horror elements kick in, it's just like boom, 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 boom. Remember all those slow scenes of build-up in Alien with Dallas going around with the flamethrower and them looking for the... None of that in this movie. I mean, it is quick. It is all so fast. I don't even know Alien fans like this film. I mean, I'm once again, much shitting on anyone who likes it, but like, if you're a fan of this franchise, I can get you liking Prometheus because that was trying something different. This is a rehash. This is worse than any of the other sequels in that sense. This is Ridley Scott making a really generic rehash of Alien and Aliens. I mean, this is everything you should hate. They took your franchise and they butchered it. Basically, they just you know they took it and they're marketing it and they're selling it. And Ridley Scott was too busy, you know, whether if he could, he didn't stop to think if he should. I mean, that's how this comes off. Like, this is a really bad, stupid movie that has the Alien name on it. And it's kind of crazy that it was made by a filmmaker that I thought was more competent than to make a movie like this. Like, even his films that I don't really like Gladiator or American Gangster and stuff, they're still pretty well done. Like, in a lot of ways. They still have good executed, you know, like, they still have logic behind a lot of what's going on. This movie, it's like, oh my god, did you think about these things for 5 minutes? For 5 minutes. I could be on the set for 5 minutes and fix a dozen of these things. And I'm no Ridley Scott, okay? I'm no professional director, but I'd be sitting there like, dude, don't do this. That's stupid. Little fixes, little things, and those little details matter with a movie. Big time. I mean, the David plot twist being so obvious, the quick character deaths, mediocre CGI at points, the helmet scene that led to the fucking blood slip scene. There's even a point the lead character, she looks at someone and goes, so much about this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. So much about this doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't see... I mean, maybe people in the comments can explain to me what's so brilliant about this movie. Oh, wow, he quoted Paradise Lost. Wow, so deep. It seems to me that Ridley Scott's lost anything that what made the Alien franchise so great with that first film, with the O'Brien script and Giger's work and everything that happened there. The biomechanical elements, the mystery, the scale, the scope of it all. The scope of this movie is insanely small. It felt more to me like fan fiction than an Alien sequel. And I can't believe I'm saying that, considering it's like $100 million movie. But to me, it's worse than Prometheus, because Prometheus, at the end of the day, is a film that I think, despite not liking it, was trying and could have led to greater things. This film not only hurts Prometheus, it hurts the whole franchise and possibly killed it. Because I don't even know if Ridley Scott will get the money to make the sequel to this movie. This film's not even going to make $100 million domestic. It's bad. I mean, you're rolling your eyes in the theater. Anyone could see the problems with this movie. There's obvious flaws, and the good elements just can't overcome it. Sure, it's kind of fun in a B-movie, stupid, so bad it's good way. There is an entertainment value to the schlockiness of it all. But if that's the standard, then we might as well just go back to Alien vs. Predator. Anyway, thanks for watching. And I will have a lot more Alien videos coming out in the future. I want to get more in depth on Alien 3 and Resurrection. But like, comment, and subscribe, okay? And no hate. Let's all just have a conversation about this. I don't like Alien Covenant. I'm not going to go see a sequel if Ridley Scott makes it. I guess I would have preferred the Neil Blomkamp movie with Ripley and Hicks and all that. I would have. I thought that idea was a little crazy, but honestly, after seeing this movie, nothing would have been this bad. This is, just because of the talent involved and what could have been done, this is absolutely up there with the worst of franchise films ever made in the history of a franchise. This is a director shitting all over his franchise, and I hope it's not just Ridley Scott being too old or something, to not know what the fuck he's doing, or just maybe he never knew what he was doing, which was always my theory if you watch all of his films like Legend And I mean, you just watch a lot of his films. That his most ambitious films. It's like, did you know what you were thinking when you were coming up with this movie? I don't know, but Ridley Scott was one of the great visionary directors of our time, and he would always get that credit. But to be intellectually honest here, I got to say this movie, holy crap. To me, this is borderline Zack Schneider. You know, it's that kind of tier. It's like, it's better made than that, but it's in that element of writing stupidity, trying too hard to be like past movies and previous franchises and films that we know. That's what it felt like to me. This didn't feel like Ridley Scott. This felt like a guy trying to be Ridley Scott. It very much reminded me of Spielberg's direction on The Lost World, Jurassic Park. A lot of good scenes, a lot of good special effects, good photography, but it didn't feel right. The awe and magic was gone. It felt so cold, like the director didn't want to make it. That's how this film felt to me, as like the Jurassic Park to the Lost World. That's how this felt to me from Prometheus. It felt like Ridley Scott just lost all of the emotion that he had in that first film. But I'll see you guys next time.